Cardano, it's been a little while since we've touched base, but what better time to make a Cardano video than in the wake of a colossal paper that was released on the 31st of May, only a few days ago. And the ramifications of this paper are huge for Cardano and its entire ecosystem. Of course, I am talking about the paper that essentially detailed a path forwards in regards to scaling and tackling the problems surrounding blockchain. It detailed things like ZK rollups, it detailed things like input endorsers, partner chains, and of course Hydra. We're going to be getting into that in this video. We're also going to be looking at some of the concerns regarding the paper and the time frame it may take to roll out. But the first place that I want to start is in regards to some concerns that people have with me not covering Cardano as much as I used to. And I just want to really reiterate my fondness for this blockchain. I really do have a soft spot for Cardano. In fact, Cardano was one of the first blockchains that I was covering here over on Allincrypto. I want to take us all the way back to one of my first videos where Cardano was a mere 12 cents. Now, I've been investing in Cardano significantly earlier than when this video was released because I ultimately believed in it as a project. But is Cardano now outdated? That is a real question that I think needs to be asked and answered. And I think the race that Cardano was taking part in back when I made this video over 4 years ago, around 4 years ago, is a very different race than today. And the principles that Cardano has been founded on are sound. If you care about things like decentralization, sovereignty, a blockchain that actually works and has consistently worked, Cardano really is a great choice. But is it going to perform from an investment point of view? That's a real question, whether you like it or not. And I know it really trivializes the fundamental changes to humanity that blockchains bring when we talk about price. Whether you like it or not, though, most people in the cryptocurrency space are here for price. And price brings investment, which brings growth, so on and so forth. And I do feel as if Cardano in certain areas is falling behind. That is just my own honest opinion. I still hold Cardano. I still operate a stake pool and have now been for 3 years. I've got a real soft spot for this network and a real soft spot for Charles Hoskinson. I think he's one of the most bright minds in the entire cryptocurrency space. But from an investment point of view, does Cardano still make sense? And I do think it will do well. I just don't perhaps think it will do as well as other blockchains out there that are perhaps a lot further ahead. And again, I want people to understand that this is really not me shitting on Cardano or its amazing community. These are just my own personal thoughts. I think when you look at real world adoption, when you look at scalability where it's currently at, when you look at a number of metrics that you can weigh a blockchain project up by or distributed ledger project up by, Cardano is falling behind somewhat. We've seen it drop out of the top 10. It's currently back in the top 10 as we speak. But it really needs to get a move on. And that's why we're sort of bringing this paper up, which was a very exciting paper for me personally to read as somebody that watched Charles Hoskinson's early whiteboard videos. And there was a lot of what was in that actually detailed and come into sort of fruition with this paper, if you will. But I really want to know your thoughts in the comment section. Again, please don't think this is me shitting on Cardano. It's not at all. This is me being realistic and saying from an investment point of view, I'm not as bullish on it going into this bull market as I have been previously. It's a different race. There's more participants. There's blockchains that are moving a lot faster, that have got a lot more adoption from a real world point of view, that have a lot more partnerships, builders, so on and so forth. And that doesn't mean that Cardano might not catch up. We often called it the sort of tortoise in regards to the hare and the tortoise story. But I do have some concerns. I think those concerns were actually echoed in regards to some of the developers on Cardano, like Pi, obviously from SundaySwap, expressing his concerns in regards to the kind of timescale for this paper to be rolled out. And if Cardano could roll, if everything in this paper was rolled out today, it would be fantastic. And a lot of those concerns I think would be sort of dissolved, if you will. But let's dive over to the paper. So on the 31st of May, I think we've got the actual date here. So this was only a few days ago. They released a paper called High Throughput Blockchain Consensus under Realistic Network Assumptions. I'll just read a very small segment of it. It says, we put forward Layers, a blockchain protocol overlay combining a number of techniques that may be of independent interest and reconciling the above shortcomings. Layers transforms any underlying low throughput base protocol to a high throughput blockchain, achieving 1-A of the optimal capacity for any constant, retains this property, combining Layers with any underlying permissionless protocol, either in the proof of stake or proof of work setting. We obtain for the first time a near optimal throughput permissionless layer 1 blockchain protocol that is proven secure under realistic network assumptions. And by realistic network assumptions, they basically mean, not sort of perfect, but probable, if you will, in regards to the kind of conditions under any given kind of consensus mechanism. Cardano really does have this is another great feature of Cardano, one of the best consensus mechanisms in the entire proof of stake game. In fact, so much so that Polkadot uses a very similar thing. So there's many great features that Cardano has. I just think in terms of adoption, in terms of kind of marketing, in terms of some of what we see from competitors in the blockchain space, it falls short in certain areas. If you think about blockchains as shops on a street, if there's loads of shops that are all layer 1 blockchain shops, they need to have unique selling points to attract people into them. Is Cardano doing enough on that front? And that all may change, obviously, with how the treasury and the funding is going to be spent. So this is the actual paper itself. It was a good paper. We're going to leave a link to it in the description if anybody wants to read. And this very much detailed a lot of what Charles Hoskinson had set forward on his early whiteboard videos. A lot of what was in there is in here. They also released a video on scaling blockchain protocols, a research-based approach. And that is how Cardano do things, on a research-based approach. But is that the right method? Well, in some cases, I believe yes. If you care about people not losing money and hacks and things like this, sure. But in other cases, if you care about kind of being first off the bench, it's perhaps not. But this was a great video. This is an amazing paper. And like the paper sort of details, if Cardano can roll this out on time, without a hitch, it says we attain for the first time a near optimal throughput permissionless layer 1 blockchain protocol that is proven secure under realistic network assumptions. If this paper gets rolled out the way it's set forward in an appropriate time, so that others don't catch up and kind of capitalize on a lot of the concepts that are detailed in this paper, Cardano, the sky really is the limit. But the concern, I guess, is if this gets rolled out and in what kind of a timely manner. Again, a lot of the concepts that were in this paper were what Charles Hoskinson spoke about in his original video. And we are, what was that video? 2015, 2016. We are nearly 9 years down the line from that. And I can see the frustration and feel it personally in regards to the kind of sluggish, tortoise-esque nature of this stuff all getting rolled out. And this is just the paper. There's a lot of work that now needs to be done. We do see Cardano way up there in regards to GitHub developers and actual commits, so developer activity. This is Pi Lanningham. So he's obviously the CTO over at SundaySwap. He also does some other things in the Cardano space. He said, finished my first read of the Laos paper today, the one that we just looked at. Very much enjoyed it. I'm excited about Laos, as are we. Nervous about the timeline to deliver, especially in the downstream ecosystem. I couldn't agree more with this tweet, to be honest with you. Palace, Explorers, etc. Given the magnitude of the changes. He goes on to say, I'll give it another read this week, then produce some content about it. Made for a great beach read. Great place to read this paper, actually. I read it yesterday, and I did think it was a good paper. It's really nice to see a lot of the concepts that were initially fleshed out in that original whiteboard video, fleshed out, essentially. But Charles Hoskinson actually replied to this, and this is something that we need to do an entirely separate video on in regards to the treasury, in regards to the funds, the billion or so ADA that's going to be unlocked, and ultimately get used to further Cardano as a blockchain in regards to adoption, people building on it, advertisement, all of this stuff. But he goes on to say, and I think this might have even been in response, although he doesn't directly mention Pi, He goes on to say, for those discussing scaling, there is enough money in the treasury to pursue an aggressive Laos, Hydra and ZK program if the community wants to go in this direction. I'd advocate to continue the parallel approach given that we have the infrastructure and talent to do it. I also believe things could move very fast given all the enhancements we've seen over the past 24 months. By fast, I'm not quite sure what Charles means. You know, if you look at where we are in regards to the cryptocurrency market, we're on the verge of mass institutional adoption. By fast, my time frame for this could be up to 24 months and maybe even then some. And I think 2 years down the line for this to roll out, Cardano is going to lose ground in that meantime. And that's why I kind of started, if you will, in regards to talking about it from an investment point of view. Doesn't mean that I don't love this blockchain. I'm committed and have been committed to actually helping to run the Cardano network. I just have some further concerns, with it. But what he does mention there in regards to the treasury, this is an entirely separate video. Don't worry, we'll get around to it in regards to how that's going to work, what that's going to look like, and actually why it's a big deal for Cardano, the unlocking of all these funds. It means you guys essentially are going to get to vote on how it gets spent, what you, for example, myself, want to see more of, what you want to see less of. But I do think the development of Cardano and these concepts fleshed out in the Laos paper are of the utmost importance. So I want to know your thoughts about the paper. Did you read it? What did you think? Are you tired of kind of waiting for Cardano to roll things out? How do you think it's going to do in this bull market? These are all things that we want your feedback section. I want to know what you think. The last little thing that was interesting news that I want to sort of finally touch base on is the president of Argentina actually reposting Charles Hoskinson. And you can see Javier Milei reposted a tweet from Charles Hoskinson. I think it was Stake with Pride that actually I originally saw a tweet from. And the Google Translate from Dario Epstein was a technology company specialized in third generation blockchains with a focus on decentralized government. Just called me and wanted to establish itself in Argentina to develop knowledge and tech applications. As the saying goes, you will reap your sow. I thought it was you will reap what you sow. Maybe a bit of a, I think English are the only people that speak correctly. But anyway, that is a joke, of course. Obviously, this is from Dario Epstein as well. He says, welcome, Charles, freedom plus talent. And this was the tweet that was retweeted from, obviously, Milei himself. He says, over the past 8 years, developers from Argentina, like ATIX's Alan Verbner, have been invaluable in the development of some of Cardano. Argentina has some of the brightest minds in our industry, and it has been a privilege to work with them. So as far as I can see, there isn't anything official in regards to Argentina, the president, the government actually working with Cardano, but it could be a flower that blossoms later on down the line. So we've covered quite a lot in this video. We didn't really go too much in depth into any one particular area, just to kind of update, if you will. The Laos paper, if Cardano can successfully roll that out, the sky really is the limit, because you will have a juggernaut of a blockchain on your hands. The question, the concerns, just like what Pi raised, is what's the time frame of all this? How is it going to go? So on and so forth. In that, we've brought up the treasury. That's an entirely separate video. Pretty cool news about the president of Argentina actually retweeting Charles Hoskinson. And also I've shared my opinion in regards to looking at Cardano from an investment point of view, which perhaps trivializes things, whether you like it or not. The majority of people are here, and it's not bad. A bad thing, I don't think, to, if you're buying Cardano, why are you doing that? It's not to not make money, I don't think. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Really interested. We've probably given you guys more questions than we've answered. But let me know what you think about all this in the comment section. And on that note, I am going to love and leave you. Thanks a lot for watching. If you've enjoyed this content, as always, a like is appreciated, so is a comment. And I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.